lightning last night. It was quite a show. At any rate, I will proceed here. And Jared, could you please give us the overview of the conducting of our meeting this morning? Last night.
Absolutely. So the meeting will be conducted under the continuation of the governor's executive orders virtually. Any members of the public wishing to submit comment can do so either contemporaneously or through the email listed on the agenda. But at this time, we have not received any requests for public comment, so we can proceed to roll call vote and item one, excuse me.
Great. Okay, and we are going to then continue on and with our Pledge of Allegiance, and I'd like to ask Trustee Johnson if he would please lead us in the pledge, and all others, could you please mute your mic?
Thank you, Madam President. Please stand. Please put your hand over your heart. Repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, and liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And can we have a roll call, please?
Absolutely. Alhambra. Arcadia. And Roger, I know you're calling in under a different number, and as a reminder, *6 to unmute yourself and *6 to mute yourself again. And I'll come back to you, Roger. Azusa.
Here.
Thanks. Bradbury.
Here.
Claremont.
Corey Kalaikai, present.
Covina. Trustee Morgan, I did see you join this morning. So again, *6 to unmute yourself. And then I will come back to you. Duarte.
Margaret Finley, present.
Almonte.
Present. Jerry Velasco.
Glendora.
Present.
Industry.
Kathy Marcucci here.
Irwindale.
Present. Manuel Garcia.
Good morning. Laverne.
Good morning.
Elise Rasmussen, present.
La Puente.
Present.
Los Angeles County.
Jamie Bisner, present.
Monterey Park. Monrovia.
Here. Becky Shevlin.
Pasadena.
Present. Rachel Janbeck.
Pomona.
Here.
Rosemead. There you go. Thank you, Steph. Rosemead. San Dimas.
Brian Viana, present.
San Gabriel.
Present. Denise Menchaca.
Sierra Madre.
John Capocha, present.
South Pasadena.
Excuse me, Bob Joe here.
Good morning. Temple City.
Good morning. Present.
Good morning. Walnut.
Alan Wu's here.
West Covina.
Lloyd Johnson here.
And I'm going to go back very quickly to those that I believed either joined a moment after I called their name. That would be Alhambra. Trustee Sham. I believe I saw you.
Yeah, Stephen Sham here.
Excellent. And I've got a note from staff that Trustee Chandler is on the line and present with us this morning. Good morning. And we did miss Trustee Morgan. Covina, are you able to unmute yourself, Trustee Morgan? Okay, the only other one was Rosemead or Monterey Park. Okay, and with that, we do have a quorum, Madam President.
Great, thank you very much. And before Charlie has to get off the line, Charlie Klonakis, and I did want to mention that is great. that you're going to be attending a 9/11 remembrance this morning. Our city has one on Saturday, but thank you for joining us this morning, and enjoy your morning and your remembrance ceremony. Thank you.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome. Okay, going back to our agenda, order of business. Are there any changes to our order of business this morning, or anything that has to be added or should be added on an emergency basis? I will bring up that we will later in our agenda for item, I should have had it on the top of my head here. That is item 5. We will be pulling that, and I'll make some comments later in the agenda. So moving on then, item 2, opportunity for public comment on non-agenda items. Did we receive any requests for public comment?
No, we have not received any requests at this time for public comment.
And
Madam
yes.
Chair, I'm sorry,
Yes.
Sandra Armenta from Rosemead. I'm here.
Thank you, Sandra. Good to have you. Okay, not seeing any raised hands. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to close public comment, and we'll move on to our consent calendar, which are items.
Move approval, move approval, Finley.
Second, Johnson.
Deanna.
Okay, I'll take Ryan Vienna as the second on there. The motion was Margaret Finley. And if there isn't any further discussion or need to pull any item, do we have any public comment on the consent calendar, Jared?
We do not.
Okay, thank you. Then are we doing our online voting?
Yes. So I'll go ahead and launch that poll now.
Oh, Lord.
There you go. So please vote and submit.
And Becky,
Yes.
this is Margaret. I am a yes on that since I am calling in.
Thank you.
And I'm in kind of the same situation as Charlie, and that the reason I'm back here is for the 87th Infantry from World War II. My father-in-law fought in the Battle of the Bulge, and we are actually going out to a fort here to commemorate what happened with several of the veterans from World War II. So I apologize if I get off earlier also.
Thank you, Margaret, and thank you to those service members. Okay.
For the chair as well, I too will be a yes, as I'm calling in, and as I shared earlier, I'm in the jungle here in Tulum doing some deep sector mosquito research, and so if my phone disconnects, that is why. I'll have the
Okay.
lights to prove it.
All right, and I will also go to Manuel Garcia. He is on the phone. Your vote on the consent calendar?
That'll be a yes.
Thank
Thank you.
And then Roger, can you unmute yourself, Roger?
I believe he's in communication with my staff as well. So staff, if you want to provide his vote in the chat box, if he's able to relay that information to you.
Okay, was that, did he get it online?
I saw him online this morning, but I'm not getting any indication from him as to a vote
Okay.
at this time.
Can we close the vote then? Do we have everyone voting?
I have everyone vote. I have 20, so that's 3 and 4. So I have 25 yes, and then the other 2 outstanding votes would be Trustee Chandler and Trustee Morgan. So yes, we have a full roster.
Okay, thank
There we
you.
go.
So our consent calendar passes.
It does. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to item 4, presentations. We have none. 5, as I mentioned, that was consider inclusion of a federal holiday, Juneteenth, to personnel and salary resolution. So at any rate, we are, after discussing this and various impacts with our current holiday schedule, we're going to send this matter to our Personnel and Policy Committee for review, along with a couple of other items that need to be addressed. But very important topic, and we will be bringing that back to you hopefully next month for consideration. Okay, then we're making up for last month. Last month was a long meeting, and hopefully this one's much shorter. Items, I did pull it, so I guess I still need to ask if there was any public comment. Is that correct? Or since I pulled it, no?
I don't think so, but if Council Black can weigh in on that really quickly, because it's not something we do very often.
Right, because the item has been pulled, and it was announced during the open meeting. No, there's no need for public comment.
Okay.
It will come back at a later date.
Thank you. Item 6, District Administration, and Jared, that is you.
Okay, thank you very much. And I will keep this brief as well. So community meeting notifications. If you are on the Finance and Audit Committee, please be aware that we will need to convene that committee to discuss our draft audit, as well as other considerations for pension pre-funding as approved in last month's agenda, to be able to finalize some of the details of those payments, and then also any remaining or additional funds that we'd like to contribute to OPEB, and then bring that back to the board for consideration as well. So please keep in mind, I'll be sending out that poll for availability of your schedule. Our COVID-19 update, as I'm sure many of you are waiting for answers, as are we, for other agencies or boards or councils that you sit on. We probably will not receive clear definition until after the recall concludes on the 14th as to any future either continuation or adherence to the deadline as it exists right now, which is the September 30th of this month, which would require the board to meet in person once again in October. However, we are seeing quite a bit of movement in the legislature to help provide easement of, and also continuation of, our current format of the virtualization of public meetings that go above and beyond the governor's ability to either approve and or suspend those activities. In particular, the California Special Districts Association, CSDA, is the co-sponsor on the Robert Rivas bill. That's AB 361. AB 361 would effectively continue our current practices of the Brown Act easement and the virtualization of meetings until January the 1st of 2024. That did have its second reading on the 9th of this month, and it was forwarded to committee for consideration, so it will come back to the legislature probably within the next couple of weeks. So stay tuned on that. Any comments, questions, or concerns on Brown Act and public meeting before I move on to the next topic? Okay, not hearing any. So as I'm sure you're all aware, it's quite inescapable in our media right now, is the consideration of vaccination mandates at employers large and small, and in all of our different iterations of both public and private organizations and private businesses. The president did have his address yesterday evening, in which he rolled out new vaccination mandate plans and protocols that will be made formal once we receive the written guidance from OSHA. So there was a lot of information in that speech. However, we will wait until OSHA issues their guidance, which actually clarifies some of the details of what defines a public business or a private business, and does that apply directly to special districts and also any other agencies of concern for you as well. but I believe the standard was set at 100 employees. Currently, the agency at our full employment is right around 47, 48 employees. So it wouldn't necessarily fall within that within those parameters for vaccination mandates. However, I did, as the approving body and also the enforcing body, you as the trustees would be making the determination to either mandate or not mandate vaccinations amongst our employees. I did want to open this up for discussion this morning to ensure that all of our opinions and voices were heard.
Jared, before we take questions, could you please comment, because when we discussed yesterday what our current vaccination status is for staff?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So staff right now is over 80% vaccinated. So when some of our seasonal employees leave for the season, which is usually the last week of October or first week of November, that rate of vaccination compliance will actually go up. So we'll probably see it in the low to mid 80 percentile for employees vaccinated. Important to note there, and probably informative for our discussion moving forward, is the largest portion of our employees actually work in the field. They do work alone in single occupancy vehicles and have very limited contact with the public and very limited contact with one another at the beginning and the end of the day. However, that's just to put that into consideration. The vast majority of employees that work within the administration building and are occupying that building for the vast majority of the day are already in compliance with the vaccine mandate.
Okay, we will take questions. I believe Mr. Bearcat, you had your hand raised first.
I understand, what the president said about, 100 people, and I understand what Jared said about, how much contact our employees have with the public. The thing that we seem to overlook is typically it's what they do in their personal lives, and typically the people I know that are not vaccinated rarely wear a mask, go out in public, think it's a hoax, on and on and on. I think it would be prudent for us to protect everyone that works for the district to mandate that. I don't understand the president's thought process about, well, if there's 100 people, you should mandate it, but if it's 99, no. It makes no sense, because all these people network out with more people. Even though we think we don't come in contact with very many people in our lives, our casual contact with people, just walking down the street or walking into a store, or you're coming in contact with hundreds of people every day. And I just think it would be prudent on our part to move forward. We're not getting a very good handle on this situation in our country, but we're not as bad as other countries because at least we do mandate some items. But anyway, I think it would be, to me, it seems logical just to mandate it and have it over with. And then we know that at least we're not hospitalizing people in our organization. Because people that are vaccinated can give it to those that aren't. And then where does that put us? That's it.
Thank you, Rick. And before we go forward, I just wanted to clarify, this is for discussion only this morning. We are not taking a vote on it this morning. I think what was the intent is that Jared wanted to get some input from the board before going forward. And those comments, Elise Rasmussen, I believe you have your hand raised. Elise?
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. I'd like to offer an opposing viewpoint. I actually do not believe in mandating the COVID vaccine for several reasons. First and foremost, the vaccine is for the original strain, and we are currently dealing with the Delta strain. The Delta strain is different than the original strain, and as you guys know, the original vaccine is not really providing protection against the Delta strain. So when everyone is using the Delta strain as the reason to get vaccination, that 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2 there. So secondly, I believe, as you guys all know, both transmit the disease, both get the disease regardless. So it's not a social responsibility, right? It's not a social responsibility piece. It's a personal decision at that point. This is not affecting, another person where your rights end and someone else's begins. This is a personal decision. There's a lot still to be known. And I can answer any questions, but fully vaccinated countries are still very much dealing with coronavirus, some that were considered model countries, and the vaccine is not stopping it. And if you can even, people want to look to severity. If you look to large outbreaks like Massachusetts, where 3 out of 4 people were vaccinated, and actually majority that were hospitalized were vaccinated. So I would like to just offer that differing viewpoint. Thank you.
Elise, for those that may not remember or know what your background is, could you please let the board know?
So I'm a public health nurse. I have my master's degree in nursing. This is likely not the, opinion of my workplace. So this is me with my hat off. I'm on maternity leave and have done a lot of research on worldly reports, on international data and statistics right now. And there's conflicting information, to be honest with you guys, right? So like our CDC is saying it does not pass in breast milk, for example, whereas there's studies in Singapore that 30% of the time it does pass in breast milk. So that's just an example of there's a lot to be known and there's conflicting information. So when you're taking away people's, decisions, that's an issue when there's still more to be known. And again, the social responsibility piece is gone here.
Thank you, Elise. Jamie Bisner.
Yeah, good morning, Becky. I concur with everything that Elise just stated, and I further want to add that we could be inviting legal action from employees based upon suspensions, whatever, penalization, a letter in their file, having worked in
You're cutting out on us, Jamie.
25 years and done a number of employment law. Oh, did I freeze up?
Yeah, Jamie, I'm sorry, we're really only getting maybe every other word.
Okay, if you can hear me.
There, yes, we can hear you now.
Briefly, we could be bringing litigation down on ourselves moving forward. We could wind up with diminished services.
Thank you. I'm going to have to move on.
Which leads to other issues. I think we need.
Jamie, your connection is just too poor. I think we get the gist of your comment, though.
Thank God.
Okay.
Becky, may I comment really quick?
Yeah. Who right now? Cynthia has her hand raised, and then Ryan, was that you?
Yes, that was me.
Okay, I'll take you after Cynthia. Cynthia.
Good morning, everyone. I agree with Rick. I think that the vaccinations should be mandated in the workplace. I will share that our council this past Tuesday voted 5-0 to impose a workplace mandated for the vaccination. We discussed a lot of options, and in the end, we decided that if you were not vaccinated, you were at risk of losing your job. There was not even an option to provide testing results, just the complication of how that would be administered. So we did refer to our legal authorities who shared that in the courts, the vaccination mandate has been upheld when challenged. So I just wanted to share that.
Thank you. Ryan Vienna.
Yeah, thank you. I'll actually support the comments of Elise. I do not support and will not support any policy that mandates a vaccine. The board needs to look deep in ourselves about this and the personal choice that people have and the emotional distress that we're going to cause our employees. Jared pointed out most of our employees are working solo in their vehicles in the fields, have minimal public contact, and I'm just not sure that this is necessarily a step that we have to take. I could understand different professions perhaps, but this just seems like something that will cause further complication. And I do agree. I understand the mandate has been upheld in court, but it's not necessarily entirely about that. Just because we can doesn't necessarily mean that we should. So that's where I will be and however we proceed. But I do hope we respect everybody's personal choice as we do in many other arenas for personal health.
Thank you, Ryan. And Rachel, stand back.
Yeah, hi. I lost connection earlier, so sorry if you called me and I didn't speak up.
Yeah.
I support a vaccine mandate. We have one in Pasadena, citywide for all employees, and every vaccine mandate has an exemption for individuals who would like to be exempt for medical or religious purposes, and they can, submit their request for the exemption. I work for the Pasadena Public Health Department, and we are seeing about a six-fold higher chance of becoming sick with COVID if you are unvaccinated in our population in Pasadena, and that's adjusted for the rates of vaccination. And we are seeing a decrease in hospitalizations based on populations that have higher rates of vaccination. And one of the reasons that we decided in Pasadena to implement a vaccine mandate is because our employees do interact with the public, and our public, we felt, deserves, if our employees are going to someone's home, to interact with somebody who's been vaccinated, especially if that person is trying to be careful themselves.
Thank you, Rachel. Corey Kaleke. And if you've already spoken, can you take your hand down, or if you're finished talking? I've got lots of hands here. Corey.
Very briefly, I generally find myself in agreement with Cynthia and Rick, but in this particular case, I support vaccines. I do not support mandates, and I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Okay, and Sandra Armenta.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate everybody's input, but this is only an update. Would it be proper to bring it back for discussion?
Oh, yes, we are. This is for discussion. Jared, I know that you had placed this on the agenda. Trustee Barakat had asked to bring it forward, and you were bringing it forward for discussion to get the temperature of the room, so to speak, and this would, I think the idea was that we would bring it back to the Personnel and Policy Committee first to look further at, and bring it back to a future agenda. Is that correct?
That's correct. And that was prior. So this agenda was distributed and drafted prior to some of the latest announcements on the federal side. So if those OSHA recommendations do come down and actually impact the agency and take the option of the vaccine mandate off of the table for us, obviously then I'll bring it to the full board for implementation. But yes, I do think it's prudent to bring it to the Personnel and Policy Committee. Thank you for all the opinions, and please, I don't mean to stop the conversation, but I think this is exactly why we wanted to have this discussion, so that it will be a decision of the board as my governing body, so that we come back in October for consideration if that's deemed the proper course.
Right. I understand too, like you said, given the president's announcement yesterday, there could be some further things coming forward. Sandra, does that Does that cover it for you?
Yes, no, I'm just making sure that because it just says
Right.
update.
Right,
So I
right,
just, didn't want to.
right.
And then right before that, it's Brown Act. So
Yes, yes. No, we're not taking any vote. And then Denise, you have your hand raised.
Just real briefly, I support the mandates. I believe in personal freedoms, but personal freedoms are being, people are, those who don't want to be vaccinated are really of concern to those who, have not had COVID. And I just think we have to protect our clients, we have to protect our employees. So I would be in favor of it, but I agree with Sandra Armenta that you may have to bring this back because there's
definitely
a lot of room for discussion.
No.
I'm not sure how much direction staff is getting here because it seems like it could be 50-50, but I just wanted to at least state that I support mandates.
Okay, thank you. John Capocha.
Yeah, thank you. Just my comment should be our decision should be based on the effect on our employees and our the people that we serve. So I'd like a little bit of data about how many people are going out sick on it, or is there any known instances of transmission within our staff or between the public and our staff. And I think any opinions that we all have about the data should be ignored. We should be dealing with the CDC and FDA opinions about what, the effectiveness of the vaccine, and just not rely on our own thoughts. Everybody's got different thoughts about it. So I can go either way with this, but it's certainly a tough decision, but it really should be based on the impact on our employees and our public.
Thank you very much, John. And do I have, Elise, your hand is still raised, or did you need to say something further?
Just want to add, I agree wholeheartedly with looking at the data. You got to remember with evolved strains, they evolve to become more contagious, but less severe. That is how strains work. Because they want to infect more hosts, but if the host dies, they don't have a host to live in, right? So they become more contagious, less severe. So when you're talking about cases, that's one thing we can say all day till we're blue in the face, more cases, but it's the severity that really matters before we take away people's freedoms of choice. And I will also say there's not a lot of information that's being shared currently. So like, I think we've heard everywhere about long haul COVID syndrome, right? Where people are having lasting symptoms. The very same thing is true from the vaccination. And the reason that is because of the body's hypersensitive autoimmune response to the mRNA spike proteins. So what's happening is the monocytes, there's atypical monocytes that are being released that have dangerous cytokines that are attacking the body. So both from getting COVID and from getting the vaccine itself, a small percentage of the population is having very hypersensitive reactions where the body is attacking itself. So that's not being talked about. People are talking about the long haul COVID syndrome. Now, I want to be very clear, I am not anti-vaccination, but I think we are in unprecedented times where we are mandating something that is fairly new. More information keeps coming out, myocarditis, pericarditis in young people, where we need to look at risk stratification. So again, it's someone's personal choice. When they're older, they have more chronic conditions, but we have young men that are being exposed, that are now having the equivalent of a heart attack. Where, it might have been better if they got COVID in some of these cases. And I know I'm coming off very opinionated about this, but again, I'm on maternity leave. I have nothing but time on my hands to research international studies right now. And I fully believe in risk stratification, whereas some groups, again, it is more risky for them than getting the vaccine versus the actual disease. So I'll end it there.
Thank you, Elise. And just, I think obviously this is a very polarizing topic, and we all have our opinions. Just as Elise said, it's really important, and throughout this whole process, I think the problem has been our availability to accurate information, complete information. There's so much information out there, and how we vet all of that. And as we indicated earlier, Obviously, this will go to our policy committee, our personnel and policy committee, to hopefully thoroughly vet and bring back something that our board can discuss and come to a decision. It's obviously going to be it'll be a feisty conversation. Jerry, you had a comment?
Yes, I just wanted to comment. I, as an individual that know firsthand, this has killed several of my family members, including my sister's son and my aunt and several other family members close to. I support the mandate, and especially with individuals that are dealing with the public. And even if they don't deal with them that much, but that little, not much, might infect someone. So I support the mandate. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'll end it here with Joseph Leon.
Yes. Good morning. I agree with everybody, but I think we just need to wait until we get the report from the committee, because we could be here for hours just discussing.
Right, yes. So we definitely know and have an idea of the things that need to be clarified and discussed and hopefully brought forward in a manner that will make our decision easier. And just as your chair, I know that most everybody is weighed in, and I will just let you know, I am vaccinated. I believe in vaccinations, that COVID is a real thing. I definitely acknowledge that, but I am not on the side of mandates. So just as Corey, I will leave it at that. We will send this to our Personnel and Policy Committee, and we will bring it back. And obviously, we also need some further clarification on the federal end as to whether or not any of the mandates that President Biden was talking about yesterday, if those would also affect the district. So with that, Jared, thank you very much for your comments. Everybody's opinion is important here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you very much. I do appreciate that. And I took a lot of notes in preparation for that committee meeting. Trustee Kaposha, I will compile that data as requested so we can present it, so we can have an honest and a more mathematical look of the risk and or lack thereof at the agency over the course of the past year and a half. And then moving forward, what would be the implied risk of any future variants or the impacts of a vaccine mandate on our employees. All right, but thank you very much for the discussion. That was very, very helpful. The last part of my update is the West Nile virus update, and a bit more of good news to hopefully conclude this
Yes,
my
we need
report.
some good news. Come on, Jared.
I know, I dig deep for the good news. So we are still maintaining it at 0 human cases for the 2021 season of West Nile virus, although there is abundant West Nile virus still circulating in the bird and mosquito populations. We have not had a single confirmed case of West Nile virus, so that's fantastic news. All schedules and our routine inspections and treatments are still occurring as they would normally in a non-COVID year. So to commend staff in all of our surveillance and operations staff for their absolute diligence and maintaining our level of service, regardless of the other kind of madness that surrounds us on a day-to-day basis, and the changing of rules and protocols. They've been more than compliant and understanding as we all figure this out together. So with that, Madam President, I'll go ahead and conclude my report unless there's any questions on West Nile virus.
Any questions of Jared? All right. And did we have any public comment on any of your reports, Jared?
We did not have any public comments. Trustee Chandler did want to speak on the previous item on 6.2, but I do not believe he's able to unmute himself. And I don't see his phone unmuted, so okay, so we can move on.
Okay, great. And then moving on then to item 7, committee reports. 7.1 ad hoc facility committee did meet, and Trustee Bearcat, did you want to make a comment?
Certainly. Due to the lack of qualified bids to get the work done, no action was taken. Jared will be getting more information for us, and we're going to try and figure out a way to get these small projects done soon. That's it. There's really nothing to report because no action was taken.
Right. Thank you very much. Do we have any public comment on this item?
Just, Madam President, I just had one notification for the board. So one of the recommendations from the committee was to proceed with RFP, RFQ. So we're compiling the data that's necessary for that RFP, RFQ to be released to the public. However, I will bring that before the board for consideration and approval prior to its release. And to Trustee Bearcat's point, yeah, we have also been discussing some alternatives for satisfying these projects outside of an RFP, RFQ. So again, no determinations were made, but just to let you know that may be on a future agenda for the full board's approval or denial.
And as many of you have noted, this has been something that's been going on for quite some time. But because it is so, the projects are very small, it has been very, very, very difficult to get interest from anyone to really provide a reasonable quotation for us. So at any rate, okay, thank you very much. I think I already asked for public comment on that. I think I did.
There is none.
Okay, thank you. Okay, under item 8, trustee reports. Do we have any reports from any of the trustees? Any comments? Sandra, oh, did you,
Yes.
you've got your hand raised? Yes.
Yes, it is. Thank you so much, Madam Chair. I just really wanted to thank Jared. As we all know, West Nile virus was detected in Rosemead, and we were having some difficulties in obtaining entrance to one of our pools. I brought it to our city council this past Tuesday in a special meeting. Unfortunately, the evidence that Jared provided, the number of locations that Jared provided, and I reported out, 3 of the council members did not agree in giving a key to the San Gabriel Valley mosquito vector control for easy access. But nonetheless, I do want to thank Jared and also Jason for providing the locations where keys are given to the San Gabriel Valley mosquito vector control. Hopefully, this doesn't increase our numbers in detecting West Nile virus in Rosemead, because we also had a detection last year. And so if this trend continues, we have to figure out the source. And I think Jared has figured out the source. Unfortunately, we weren't able to give him a key. And so I haven't had a chance to speak to Jared. So this is the reason why I'm bringing it to trustee reports. Again, thank you so much, Jared, for doing your due diligence and trying to help me convince our council to give you a key.
Thank you, Sandra. And hopefully between staff that they can continue working on this and find a viable solution. Jared, did you have any comment, Jared?
Oh, just thank you, Trustee Armenta, for being our champion on this and being so passionate about the prevention of not only mosquito breeding but also West Nile virus transmission in the city. We will work, as deeply and as intimately as we have with city staff to gain access to that property and the surrounding properties as expeditiously as we possibly can. I hope that over time the city may understand the value and our very, very careful stewardship of every single key and access that we've been granted to any city or municipal property. We take that responsibility very, very seriously. So any of our other trustees on the line, if your city affords us the open access to any mosquito breeding sources that have been found and cataloged and are under continued inspection and treatment on your city properties. Thank you very much for extending that trust to us. I don't, Jason can comment on this, but I don't think we've had a single incident of a member of our staff either providing inappropriate access, leaving a municipal facility in a state in which we didn't find it in, or any other issues or problems resulting from our ability to have access when we need to by the provision of a key from your staff members.
And Jared, can I just add, to me, it was very interesting. All we were asking was for a key to a pool, nothing for the building, the facilities, and the list that you provided. We're talking about very sensitive potential terrorist locations. And I was baffled. I said, these agencies trust the San Gabriel Valley Mosquito Vector Control in very sensitive areas where there could be potential terrorist actions, and we can't even give them a key to a pool. But anyhow, that was just my 2 cents at the end.
Thank you, Sandra, and hopefully it works out for the city of Rosemead. Okay, not seeing. Oh, Joseph, you have your hand raised.
Yes, good morning. Actually, just reminded me. Jared, I understand they're going to shut down part of the San Gabriel River Trail for construction. And I know I've seen our trucks out there before. Is that going to have an effect on us, or is that going to have an effect on the mosquito situation since we may not have access to it?
Great question. Jason, have you received an update on that, or if we will be given a clearance for that closure?
No, I'm not sure exactly what parts are going to be closed down or not.
Okay.
So, but we'll work with anybody doing the work or the project manager to gain access to things that we need it and make sure that those sources are covered if it breaks access to something.
Thank you. And so when that information is available, we can obviously get that back to our trustees.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Any other hands raised? Not seeing any. I did want to mention, obviously, and I want to thank you for the robust discussion this morning. Obviously, COVID-19 and vaccinations is a very can be a very polarizing conversation, and we are going to really endeavor to not make it that way. And we are going to be, as I mentioned a few times, we've got several items to give to our Personnel and Policy Committee, the vaccine mandate topic, our holiday schedules, and there's also a bylaw change I had mentioned before to changing the numbers required for our working committees. So they're going to be very busy, and hopefully we can bring back information next month. And again, I think that is the key, bringing back to the board the information they need to make the decision. We all have personal opinions and whatnot, but it is what, as Trustee Capocha had mentioned, it's what serves us best as a district for our district and our employees and the people that we serve. So with that, does anybody have any new business that we should be bringing up? I think we've got our plate full at the moment, but I'll ask. Not seeing any question or any comments for new business. Then not seeing any further business on our agenda. I again, for all those, just keep our veterans in our hearts and prayers, their families, and all that are associated with them, us as a country, and as we observe tomorrow the remembrance of 9/11 on this 20th anniversary. So on that, everyone, have a wonderful weekend, and we will meet again next month. And that Personnel and Policy Committee, they're going to have their hands full, and also finance. So thanks very much for joining us, and we'll see you later. Thanks. Stay healthy.